Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us this morning. This is the February 7th, 2024 meeting of the Board of Estimates. Is now called to order. As the board continues to meet in its hybrid fashion, we'll ask all folks who are joining us today in person to please ensure that your electronic devices are turned off or at a minimum placed on silent so you do not disrupt today's proceedings. For those online, if there is an opportunity for you to speak, we'll ask that you please, when you're unmuted, say your name, the organization, agency you're calling in from, and then begin with your testimony. At this time, I'll ask our amazing clerk, Ms. Celeste Amato, for any corrections, additions, and noted abstentions to today's agenda. Madam Clerk.
Thank you, Mr. President, and good morning, everyone. Bear with me this morning. We have quite a few things to read into the opening statement. We have the following corrections this morning. These items are corrections from the Department of Housing. They are mostly administrative. They're related to account numbers, and bear with me because I have to read them into the record. So the following actions are being updated. A correction to SB 23-14053. This was a resolution for CFY 24 Annual Action Plan to HUD for formula grants and approval of a form agreement and authorization to execute for Community Development Block Grant operating grants. The transaction amount was $35,396,657, and the project fund was should be 2089 GRT 001796, CCA 001146, SC 670701, again in the amount of $35,396,657. The next correction is to, sorry, these have a lot of numbers on them. SB 24-10106. This is correcting a work tag for previously approved SB 23-10944. The board is requested to approve this correction. The transaction amount is $180,000, and the project funds are as follows: 2089 GRT 000827. CCA 001146, SC 670701 in the amount of $61,000, 2089 GRT 000827, CCA 001146, SC 670701 in the amount of $40,000, and 2089 GRT 000827, CCA 001146, SC 670701 in the amount of $79,000. And the final correction is as follows. We're correcting again a grant ID work tag for a previously approved transaction, SB 23-12121. The correct transaction amount is $250,000, and the project funds are as follows: 2089 GRT 001156, CCA 001146, SC 670701 in the amount of $120,000, and 2089 GRT 001156, CCA 001146, SC 670701 in the amount of $130,000. Those are the three corrections. Normally, we would ask the board move these to the routine agenda, but they are going to be on non-routine so that Commissioner Kennedy can talk about the payment timeline, because we know some nonprofits are waiting on those grant payments. Next up, we have no protests to note this morning. We do have the following deferrals and withdrawals to note. SB 24-10108, Department of Housing, City-Owned Real Property, Fixed Pricing Disposition Policy. This item is being deferred by the Council President until March 6th, 2024. SB 24-10186, Procurement. This is an increase to contract number 8000, Tolemi, Tolemi. This item is being withdrawn by the agency. BBMR, SB 24-10207, SB 24-10209, SB 24-10204, SB 24-10203, SB 24-102, that's a repeat. SB 24-10206, SB 24-10205, and SB 24-10208. These items are all being deferred. These were all supplementals for the casino local impact aid. These items are being deferred by the agency. SB 24-10100, this is an item for the Department of General Services, procurement, emergency report, CCTV installation and monitoring. This item is being withdrawn by the agency. And that concludes the deferrals and withdrawals for this morning. And sorry, everyone, we had a few last-minute changes, so thanks for bearing with me as I make sure I got this right. We have the following items that will appear on the non-routine agenda this morning, and they are as follows. SB 24-10109, Department of Housing, Appraisal Policy Update. SB 24-10068, Department of Human Resources, Employment Contract, Health Department, for Araceli Bollinger. I am so sorry. I know I'm mispronouncing that name, but the last name is Bollinger, Bollinger. SB 24-10216, Law Department Settlement Agreement and Release for Pamela McGurn and Leland Brooks. SB 24-10214, Law Department Settlement Agreement and Release with Ronald Mealy versus Baltimore City Police Department. SB 24-10223, Department of Real Estate, First Amendment to Lease Agreement for 401/501 North Calvert Street. SB 24-10107, this was the correction to grant work tag I previously read into the agenda. SB 24-10016, again, this was another correction to a financial work tag. And SB 24-10106, again, that was the final correction to the grant work tags I read into the agenda earlier. The following items are being returned to the routine agenda this morning. SB 24-10074, SB 24-10077, SB 24-10075, SB 24-10076, and SB 24-10078. These were all travel-related items for the Department of Recreation and Parks. They again are being moved back to the routine agenda this morning. We have the following abstentions to note for the Honorable Mayor Brandon Scott. He is abstaining on SB 23-12733. This is for Department of Health, Johns Hopkins University, John G. Bartlett Outpatient. The Honorable President Nick Mosby has no abstentions this morning. The Honorable Comptroller Bill Henry is abstaining on all travel requests and reimbursements. City Solicitor Ebony Thompson has no abstentions to note this morning, and the Director of Public Works, Richard Luna, also has no abstentions to note this morning. We do also have the following no votes to read into the record for routine agenda items. These are as follows: SB 23-14698, Department of Housing, condemnation of the fee simple interest in 1730 East 28th Street. The Council President is abstaining this morning. SB 23-14699, DHCD, condemnation of fee simple interest in 1806 East 28th Street. SB 23-14536, Department of Housing, condemnation of the fee simple interest in 2836 Hartford Road. SB 23-14700, Department of Housing, condemnation or redemption of the $98 ground rent interest in 1726 East Landvale Street. SB 23-14536, Department of Housing, condemnation of the fee simple interest in 2836 Hartford Road. SB 23-14735, Mayor's Office of Employment Development, amendment to grant agreement with N-Power, Inc. And SB 24-10008, Mayor's Office of Recovery Programs, First Amendment to grant agreement with Druid Heights Community Development Corporation for the Druid Heights Community GREET Infrastructure Project. All of these items will reference a no vote by the Honorable President Nick Mosby. And that concludes our opening statement for this morning, I think. Thank you.
Thank you. Before we go into adopting the opening statement, just one point, want to make sure we're very clear. The SB 24-10108, I'm sorry, no. The SB 24-10001, the BDC, we did move that back to routine, right?
Yes.
Just want to make sure.
Yes,
Thank
sir.
you. All right, at this time, I'll call for a motion to adopt the opening statements.
So moved. Second.
It's been moved and probably second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say nay. The ayes have it. The opening statement has now been adopted. I would now like to direct the board's attention to a memorandum from my office dated February the 5th, 2024. Identify matters to be considered as routine agenda items together with corrections, additions, abstentions, and no votes that the clerk has noted. I'll entertain a motion now to approve all items contained on the routine agenda.
So moved. Second.
It's been moved and probably second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say nay. The ayes have it. The routine agenda has been adopted. The first item that we're going to talk about this morning on non-routine can be found on page 45, SB 2310109, Department of Housing and Community Development. This request is to approve regulations update to Baltimore City appraisal policy. On behalf of DHCD, we have
Oh, I have to press the button. This is always a fun time with you all on Wednesday mornings. Good morning, Honorable Board. We're here this morning. I'm actually joined by Eric Evans, Director of Real Estate in the Comptroller's Office, regarding an update to the Baltimore City appraisal policy. This policy was originally adopted in 2010, and it was recommended at the time that the appraisal policy be reviewed and updated every 3 years. That has not happened, so we needed to make sure that it did happen. And we reviewed the appraisal policy. This applies to properties that we are acquiring through federal means and federal funds. It raises the acquisition threshold for appraisal from $20,000 of an assessed value to $25,000 of an assessed value. And then the other piece on that is that we would make sure that this doesn't we still have to follow federal regulations associated with that acquisition. And then it also increases on the disposition side, the assessed value from $25,000 up to $50,000 on the disposition side of the property. But that does not apply to any properties that we're disposing that were purchased from the Housing Authority or through federal funds or through also highway funds or other non-city funds that have any regulations associated with the disposition and the price of that disposition. And I'm going to actually ask Director Evans to provide.
Sure, yeah. Good morning, Mr. President and honorable members of the board. Eric Evans, Department of Real Estate, Comptroller's Office. I'm here to support this appraisal policy update. As it does affect our department, we regularly dispose of city property, and this will help to expedite that for us, as we are often get entangled with the $20,000 threshold on properties that really, given the market today, $50,000 would be a much more appropriate value to require a appraisal after. Thanks.
Open to any questions.
Thank you. I guess, what percentage of property are we talking about by raising it from 20,000 to 25,000 and from 25,000 to 50,000? About what percentage of properties do we expect to fit into that area?
In terms of what we're seeing, especially in some of our most distressed neighborhoods, we would be able, it would be probably around 75% of the properties that we're looking to acquire would fall into this. It really does assist mostly on our condonation eminent domain cases, which significantly kind of weigh in where we know that the assessed value is lower, so we need it, and then we've seen that go up a little bit, so wanting to make sure that we were able to capture that. So I think, especially on our condemnation eminent domain cases, we'd end up seeing it in like probably that 75%.
Thank you. What's the strategy of aggressively pushing up the disposition side? It's not proportional to, our acquisition.
The strategy there as well is that there's a significant number of properties on the disposition side that are actually assessed at a different, the assessed value has changed over time. So to require the appraisal at the lower assessed values at this point doesn't make sense in terms of what we're seeing, and it'll allow us to actually move some of those other properties a little bit faster, where we know that at $25,000, $26,000, $27,000, we're not having to go and get that appraisal to come back and be in that, because we actually get 2 appraisals on those properties.
So with this, we will not have to, is that
Correct.
accurate, right?
So we would get the appraisal once the assessed value hits that 50,000 and above mark.
Understood. And as far as the appraisal process, how much time are we saving? Like, when we just, like,
Oh, we're
break it
saving
down?
months. We're saving months on this, especially for those properties. So right now, and with the number of properties that we're looking to bring into the inventory and acquire, and then the number of properties that we're looking to dispose of, especially on the disposition side, this will end up saving a significant amount of time, because it's not just ordering the appraisals. We've been working with appraisers. They also are, backed up sometimes, and we kind of fall as they're doing their other real estate jobs with settlement dates that have very constrained timelines on it. We sometimes get pushed down. So it will save, actually, in one transaction, it could save us 3 months.
And then the last question, how does this fit into the administration's push to, increase the limits from the thresholds from a Board of Estimates perspective?
The thresholds,
The things that'll come to a Board of Estimates, all property, if we raised it to 50,000, the threshold limits, all those transactions would not come through the Board of Estimates.
no,
No?
I don't know that there's,
So in my other job, I spend a lot of time with Alice and Eric on real estate transactions. It actually wouldn't change that, sir. It would, what this will do is let us move the transactions much more quickly at a lower cost, but they would still come to the board. You just won't see an appraisal accompanying the ones that fall below the threshold we're setting here today.
Yeah. But I'm talking about the threshold limits that we're talking about potentially increasing. This would fly under the radar of those. Is that accurate?
Are you talking about for procurement reforms?
I don't know what,
Yeah.
Yeah, that doesn't affect us.
That wouldn't affect this? Okay, got it. All right.
yeah,
Thank you.
I trust
Yeah.
the 2
Real
members.
real estate transactions will still require the board's
Yeah.
approval.
I get it.
Yeah, they'll still, it's my understanding that all of our real estate transactions would still come to the board for approval.
Got it.
I can't speak to the other pieces of it.
Perfect. Just wanted to make that clear.
Okay.
All right, Mr. Mayor?
Thank you, Madam Commissioner. I just have one simple question. Why haven't we changed this policy until now? And how much do you think we lost in not doing that?
I can't speak to why it hasn't happened before. This is one of the components that we've been looking at over the last 3 years within the agency, in terms of 4 years, actually, evaluating every single one of the policies related to acquisition and disposition of properties, how we can do that better, how we can do that more efficiently, more effectively, and achieve the results that we want to see in terms of transforming our neighborhoods, supporting our neighborhoods, uplifting our neighborhoods with transformative change on the real estate perspective. So this is part of the work that we've been doing over the last 4 years to address those different components. And I'm just pleased that we are able to do that now. And also working with the Director of Real Estate and able to kind of make sure that what we were putting into place works for all parties within city government that do this work.
Mr. Comptroller?
Thank you, Mr. President. Good morning. I just have a technical question. When you said it has to be reviewed it's supposed to be reviewed every 3 years. Is that just an internal review? So if you, like 3 years from now, if you review it internally and you determine it's still fine the way it is, you don't have to come back to the board to have it reaffirmed for another 3 years. It just-
Correct.
Okay, you only come back if you want to change it.
Right, it's about
Okay.
doing that review every 3 years to see if anything needs to be changed, looking at current market conditions, what are those market conditions? And then if we do have a change suggested, we would come back to the board at that time.
Okay. Do you want to say that you should send us something telling us that you're not,
Yes.
so that we have a
We shall do
note
that.
on the BOE record that somebody can go back and look and see how often has that review actually happened?
Yes, I appreciate that, and we shall.
Okay, thank you.
Any additional questions or concerns? At this time, I will take a motion for vote.
So moved.
It's been moved and probably second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say nay. The ayes have it. This item is approved. The next item on the non-routine agenda can be found on pages 103 and 104. Thank you, Madam Commissioner and Mr. Real Estate Officer. SB 2310068, Department of Human Resources. This request is to approve a position reclassification for the Department of Housing and Community Development. On behalf of Human Resources, we have
Good morning, Mr. President, Mr. Mayor, honorable members of the board. My name is Quentin Herbert. I'm here on behalf of the Department of Human Resources. This was a reclassification that we received, I believe, did you say Housing and Community Development or the Health Department?
Sorry, it says Housing Community Development. It's the Health Department.
I believe that that one was on the non-routine for the Health Department. We do have our interim health commissioner here and her team to address the reclassification. We received a reclass, it went through the ECC process. I believe that this is one where there was a timing issue, and the agency is here to discuss that timing issue.
Hello, Madam Commissioner.
Good morning.
Welcome to the board.
Thank you, sir. Good morning, Honorable President, Mr. Mayor, and members of the board. I believe the position you're talking about isn't a reclassification, it's a retroactive contract situation. Can you take a quick look so we're sure we're talking about the right thing? I'm here with our Chief Financial Officer, Ms. Unyeme Akpan, and I will,
That's correct, sir.
it is the retroactive?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. So just overall background to the situation, and I know this will come up, so we'll just speak to it. We don't want a situation where we continue to bring contracts after the fact to ratify them or to retroactively sign them. A lot of this happened just because of the pandemic and not being able to stay up to date. We're already discussing a process by which we centralize this so that we have a system in which we can notify managers and supervisors when contracts of staff members who are under them or on programs that they manage are coming up. 90 days to the fact, 60 days prior to the fact, 30 days, so that we never get to a point where the contract has come to an end. For this specific contract, I'm going to ask our Chief Financial Officer to speak to it.
Yeah, so, good morning, everyone. This is a contract for Ms. Bollinger. She's a data entry associate for our Hep C surveillance program. Yes, this is those contracts that expired because one of the managers transitioned to a new position, and it sort of caused a backlog. We had quite a few, and this will be the last one that we'll be bringing to the board for approval, so it won't happen again. We have, like our commissioner said, put processes in place to fix this. We have a few short-term process, and we're working with the Department of Finance and BSID for a more long-term process. I do understand that they're working to implement a contracts lifecycle management system. The first part is, I think, strictly procurement, and then the next phase would be for the contract lifecycle. We'll be able to manage this off all in Workday. And for what I understand, there will be a reminder trigger, not just for the agency, but I think at a granular level as well. There's a larger conversation that is coming up sometime in another 2 weeks that we will be attending, because this is something that is extremely important for us. We have a lot of contracts to manage, and we do need that additional support long-term. So-
Thank you so much. And Madam Chief, if you could state your name for the record.
Oh, my name is Unyeme Ekpa, Chief Financial Officer of the Health Department.
Thank you, Madam CFO. With that, does that conclude the presentation?
That's it.
I believe so.
Are there any questions or concerns from members of the board? Mr. Comptroller?
Thank you, Mr. President. First of all, I want to start with the note that our amazing clerk just passed us. which is just a reminder to the health department and to any other agency in this type of situation. Until you get that management process in place, you can use the BOE Submit to help track these. And if you want to reach out to our office, we'd be happy to walk you through that.
Thank you.
I also wanted to congratulate you because you answered 2 of my 3 questions in your presentation.
All
That's,
right,
that's,
awesome.
that's,
I knew it was coming.
you get a gold star. But the one remaining one, and actually you may have answered this, and I just didn't catch it. Is Ms. Bollinger still working for the city?
She's not right now. We had to turn her off, but we do need that position. So we are working, once this is approved, we do have an FY '24 that I believe either was approved last cycle or should be approved. So we can have her back working with the team because we do need the data support.
But you would bring the contract to the board to be
The FY
approved
24,
before you would bring
yes,
her back?
Yes, we,
Okay.
until it's approved, we will not onboard her, so yes.
That's great. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Are there any additional questions or concerns from members of the board? If not, at this time, hearing and seeing none, we will take a motion.
So moved.
It's been moved and probably second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say nay. The ayes have it. This item is approved. The next item on non-routine agenda can be found on pages 109 and 110, SB 2310216, Law Department. This request is to approve settlement agreement and release of Pamela McAaron. On behalf of the Law Department, we have
Good morning, Mr. Council President. Stephen Salisbury, Deputy City Solicitor. Mr. Council President, Mr. Mayor, Mr. Comptroller, members of the board. The Law Department is requesting a settlement agreement and release in the case of Pamela McEachern versus Leland Brooks. This involved a auto accident with the BPD officer. The settlement arises out of events that took place on March 26th, 2021. At approximately 1 a.m., a BPD lieutenant was stopped behind the plaintiff in the left turn lane on East Lombard Street. Both the plaintiff and the officer were preparing to turn left. The officer was behind the plaintiff. The eastbound light turned green, so not the arrow, but the light, and the officer mistakenly thought that the arrow had turned green. He accelerated and struck the plaintiff, rear-ended the plaintiff. All this, of course, was also on dash cam video. The accident was not, so serious, but the car sort of lifted up and then dropped to the ground. And the plaintiff was actually taken to shock trauma because she passed out and was unconscious at the scene when medics arrived. She had complained of pain to her spine, left shoulder, thumb, and ultimately, in this case, when she filed the lawsuit, submitted documentation showing approximately $30,000 in medical damages. The officer, we should note, was very cooperative throughout this process. But given the medical damages, the fact that we really did not have a defense to liability, the Law Department is recommending $40,000 to settle this matter. I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Deputy Solicitor. At this time, are there any additional questions or concerns? Mr. Comptroller, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just to be clear, the lieutenant effectively admitted culpability in this. I'm just curious, did he face any discipline internally for his actions?
No, we're not aware of any discipline that he faced for the accident.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Are there any additional questions or concerns? Hearing and seeing none, I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
It's been moved and probably second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say nay. The ayes have it. This item is approved. The next item on non-routine agenda can be found on pages 107 and 108, SB 2310214, Law Department. This request is to approve the settlement agreement and release with Ronald Mealy. On behalf of the Law Department, we have
Good morning, Mr. Council President, Deputy City Solicitor Stephen Salisbury, Mr. Council President, members of the board. The Law Department is recommending approval of a settlement agreement in the amount of $130,000. This arises out of several different lawsuits and complaints that have been filed over the years arising out of 2 BPD units that have actually since been disbanded. It was the Marine unit and the BPD's Bomb Squad unit. Plaintiff Ronald Mealy was a member of both units. There were, at the time when he was originally a member of the Marine unit, he participated in an Office of the Inspector General investigation into the unit that ultimately resulted in some findings against the unit. Mealy alleged that because of that participation, over the ensuing years, his supervisors filed a series of administrative charges against him, and he alleged in retaliation for his participating in the OIG investigation. Mealy himself also filed charges against those officers. Some of these were sustained, some of these were not sustained. But ultimately, Mealy retired from BPD in January of 2022 after 20 years with the department. He filed this lawsuit a couple months before that in September 2021. He alleged a series of damages associated with sort of the mental pain and suffering in connection with his treatment at BPD, as well as $132,000 that he lost in foregone pension benefits for having to leave after 20 years. The city filed a motion to dismiss in that litigation, which was ultimately denied. While there are sort of strengths and weaknesses to both sides of the case here, one of the key points that give added exposure to the city is it's important to note that of the different complaints and cases that Mr. Mealy filed, one was a separate Office of the Inspector General investigation that did ultimately result in a finding that Mealy's colleagues and supervisors had retaliated against him, inappropriately retaliated against him in connection with his conduct. Given that, and given the fact that continued litigation of this case would be extraordinarily expensive, the attorneys representing Mr. Mealy have indicated that they would be looking to take anywhere from 20 to 30 depositions, which is enormously expensive. It's also very disruptive to the department when you think about all the time and effort that has to go into participating in these investigations. The fact that this has been sort of a long-standing matter that's been litigated for almost 6 years now, the law department ultimately feels that resolving this case as opposed to moving forward to trial is in the best interest of the city. And for that reason, we're recommending a settlement agreement and release in the amount of $130,000. I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Deputy Solicitor. At this time, are there any questions or concerns from members of the board? Hearing and seeing none. At this time, I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
It's been moved and probably second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say nay. The ayes have it. This item is approved. Thank you, Deputy Solicitor. The next item on non-routine agenda can be found on pages 197 and 198, SB 2310223, Department of Real Estate. This request is to approve the First Amendment to the city lease of private property with ATA PCO, Baltimore One LLC. On behalf of Real Estate, we have.
Good morning, Eric Evans, Department of Real Estate. Good morning, Mr. President, honorable members of the board. This is a First Amendment to a lease agreement with a TAPCO company, which is the owner of the former Sun Building. I'm also here with Director Garbar, better known as the infrastructure czar.
You got it.
Or even just Zarber.
No, you're right.
Exactly, Zarbar. We've worked closely on this since my arrival last June. This is an important agreement for the city. There are three critical functions that are being served there: Department of Fire Department, the Police Department, and EMS. Director Garbar has a much longer history with this, so I'm going to defer to the czar to explain exactly how we come to this point, and then I would be happy to fill in the details of the negotiation, which is where my department steps in as far as the actual terms of the deal. Director?
Thank you, Director. I'm Matt Garbark. I am the Director of Mayor's Office of Infrastructure Development. As Director Evans said, this is an amendment to extend the current lease that we have with the Sun Building for 5 additional years. The original lease began in 2020, and it houses currently the Central Police District, as well as the city's Emergency Operations Center and some other fire department and police department assets there. The long-term vision of this building and this structure is to house a lot more critical public safety operations there, which are in woeful need of improvement. Specifically, the vision is to construct a new 911 call center, a new crime lab, and a new evidence control and handling unit, as well as other smaller functions, all within this building. The unique design and layout of the building is perfectly suited for these functions. To renovate the existing facilities or to build from the ground up, start from scratch, would be prohibitive, cost prohibitive, and would be far in excess of existing resources. The opportunity to partner with the private sector allows the city to improve its infrastructure in a prudent and cost-effective manner through long-term leasing rather than upfront capital financing and upfront capital costs that the city just doesn't have right now to do that. The amendment to the current lease is the first of what will be 3 different agreements. In the coming weeks, we will be bringing a design development agreement to the board for review and approval. This will be looking at the design, programming, costing, and budgeting for the larger build-out. That agreement will be 2 years, and at the end of that, the city will then consider whether to go into a long-term lease agreement where the actual renovation of build-out will occur. The remaining 3 years at that point will allow for that build-out to occur, or should the city not choose to go into that, that'll allow the city 3 years to find appropriate space for the functions that are there now to be relocated. I do want to thank Director Evans and the Real Estate Department for their diligence on this. This is the first of what I think will be a number of types of transactions in this way, and I think that this is a great opportunity where we leverage private investment and the private sector to really help deliver some core critical public services and public safety services. So I'll turn it back over to Director Evans to go into some more details.
Thank you. Once again, Director Evans, Department of Real Estate. This transaction, as Director Garbar said, it's a 5-year lease extension, but it also has within it a 24-month standstill period where we will be using that time to negotiate the first of, well, actually simultaneously, but it will be the first of the other 2 agreements, one which will be the design development agreement, and that's designed to establish the feasibility of this, get into exactly what this is going to cost the city and the value it will be to the city versus other options. And that, of course, will be coming to this board for approval. And then the second step would be the long-term lease agreement, which will give the city the opportunity to own the property afterwards. Currently, the annual commitment for the city, we're paying $2.7 million annually in rent for this space. With the new amendment, while the actual base rent is being decreased, the total outlay will be approximately $3.3 million, because at this time we are going to have to start to cover more of the operating expenses for this building. This is an extremely unique opportunity for us to bring our critical functions up to potentially state-of-the-art, and will have a major impact, I believe, on the city. This model is not without precedent. There are other cities, such as Philadelphia, who have taken former newspaper buildings and turned them into such facilities. This building is also unique because it provides us the opportunity to, with its characteristics of being able to operate as an office facility and an industrial facility, as Director Garbar said, to actually build one of these from the ground up would be far beyond our financial capabilities as a city. So with that, I welcome any questions or?
Thank you, Director Evans. At this time, are there any questions or concerns? Hearing and seeing none, at this time, I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
It's been moved and properly second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say nay. The ayes have it. This item's been approved. Thank you so much. At this time, we're going to go to 3 walk-on items from DHCD. We're going to hear them all together. We're going to vote them out separately, just, for the record. So I'll read the first one in, and then subsequent to that, I'll read the two additional contract numbers. But this, again, is a walk-on item, SB 2310217, Department of Housing Community Development. This request is to correct grant ID work tag for SB 2312121. That was approved by this board in September of 2023. On behalf of DHCD, we have.
Alice Kennedy, Housing Commissioner.
Thank you, Madam Commissioner. If you could talk about this one, then talk about the other subsequent ones, just so when it's time for us to vote, we can just vote them all out. That's all.
Yeah, that would be great. So all of these are related to the correction of the work tag. That's related to the city's annual action plan for our community development block grant, as well as the subsequent additional grant agreements associated with that. This is extremely important because we streamlined the system for our CDBG grants to kind of create a process that would expedite payments, and this minor clerical error has put a glitch in our streamlined system, and we need to get those contracts executed and payments out to to our subgrantees as soon as possible.
Thank you. At this time, are there any questions or concerns? Hearing and seeing none, I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
It's been moved and probably second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say nay. The ayes have it. This item is approved. Just based off of the testimony from Madam Commissioner, we do have 2 additional items that I'm going to read on the record. And if there aren't any questions, concerns, or unreadiness, we're going to vote them out. The next one is SB 2310016, Department of Housing Community Development. This request is to correct a grant ID work tag for SB 2314053 that was approved in December of 2003. Are there any questions, concerns, or unreadiness?
It sounded like you said SB 23, and I have SB 24.
I have SB 23. Madam Clerk, is it 24?
Let me clarify
Yeah, it
that.
is.
The original submissions that had the incorrect work tag are from 2023. The 2024 numbers are actually the memo that's correcting the work tag. And so we should be approving the 24, 10107.
Got it.
16, and 06.
Got it.
And again, that's also because we're part of the audit trail as well, so that's why these kind of tedious corrections are important.
So
Thanks,
let's
everyone.
make sure that we go back to the other one, because we also read in the wrong year. So I'm just going to read all 3 in, and if there's, again, no questions, concerns, or unreadiness, we'll proceed with the vote. So we're going to go back to the one that we just voted on and read it incorrectly. That's SB 2310217, Department of Housing Community Development. This request is to correct grant ID work tag.
You're still saying SB 23.
I just read it again. All right, here we go. Okay, I'll read it from the clerk sheet.
It should just
Yeah, I'll
be
read it
in
from,
the-
the next one is SB 2410107, correction. Correct grant ID work tag for SB 2312121, approved by the Board of Estimates in September 6, 2023. At this time, I'll take a motion.
So moved.
It's been moved and probably second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say nay. The ayes have it. This item's approved. The next item, SB 2410016, correction. Correct grant ID work tag for SB 2314053, approved by the Board of Estimates in December of '23. I'll take a motion.
So moved.
It's been moved and probably second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say nay. The ayes have it. This item's approved. The next and last item is SB 2410106, correction. Correct grant ID work tag for SB 2310944, approved by the board in April of '23. At this time, I'll take a motion.
So moved.
It's been moved and probably second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say nay. The ayes have it. The item is approved.
Mr. President? I have
Yes,
one more
Madam
question.
Solicitor?
I just want to understand how I can bring candy up here every single BOE and y'all hand out cookies, and I don't have one, or did my deputy eat my cookie? This is a matter of great concern
he
before you
one-upped you.
dismiss us.
Mr.
I want
President,
my cookie.
He one-upped you.
that,
I'm not eating sugar.
Madam Solicitor, I believe that's an internal matter for the law department.
It needs to be on the record.
So
My understanding was that we do not discuss personnel matters in
You're right,
depth
you're right,
at the
you're right.
board. But Casey is on it.
Oh, thank you.
All good?
Yes, we're all good.
Okay, with that, there being no new business before the board, we will adjourn. The next regularly scheduled meeting of the Board of Estimates will occur on Wednesday, February the 21st, 2024, at 9 a.m. I would like to thank everyone for tuning in. Baltimore, please stay safe, and we absolutely love you.
Hi, Charm TV, we're ready to go. Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Board of Estimates bid opening for February 7th, 2024. I am Celeste Amato, Clerk of the Board of Estimates, and I'm joined by my fantastic team who has organized the bid openings for us today. We do not have any addenda to read today, so far, upcoming bids, there are no changes to the opening dates for anything that might currently be out there and pending. And we are opening 4 bids today, and we're going to be starting with the Department of Transportation. Contract TR 24008, this is for ADA curb, ramp, and sidewalk construction, urgent need east. Does that sound right, team? Okay. So, go ahead,
All right.
Abby.
Up first, we have J Villa Construction, Inc. And that total is 5,414,000.00.
Okay, I'm going to read that back the same way and then read it one more time. And Shalon, just let me know if the number is matching up also with the copy that you're looking at. That number was 5,414,000.00. And we have a bid bond for this one, yes? Yes. Okay. So that bid was from J Villa Construction, Inc. for $5,414,000.00. And up next.
Thank you. Up next, we have Priority Construction Corporation. And that total is 3,602,208.00.
Okay, that number was 3,602,208.00. Great. Do we have a bid bond?
Yes, we do.
Okay, that bidder was Priority Construction Corporation for $3,602,208.00.
Thank you. And our final bidder is ENR Services, Inc.
That's E ampersand R, correct? Or is it E N as in Nancy R? Just checking.
E and R.
Okay, thank you.
And that total is 2,987,460.00.
Okay. That number was 2,987,400?
460.
460. Okay, I'll read that one more time. My keyboard is sticking again. If you'll recall, we had that issue once before. The number is 2,987,460.00.
That is correct.
Got it, okay. And we have a bid bond?
Yes, we do.
That bidder was E&R Services, Inc. for $2,987,460.00. And I believe that was our final of three bidders. For contract TR 24008, ADA curb ramp and sidewalk construction, urgent need east. Up next, this says Bureau of Procurement, is that correct? RFQ 478?
Yes.
Design and construction for conduit and fiber optic cable at multiple locations? Okay. I am ready when you are, Abby.
Up first, we have Paniguas Enterprises, Inc. And that total is 1,250,895.00.
Okay, that number was 1,250,895.00.
That is correct.
Does this one have bid bond?
It's not signed. The documentation.
But everybody's going to is going to be showing a bond. Okay, that's okay. The agency can review for the missing signature. I just want to indicate that these are bond applicable. So that was Paniguas, did I say that? I'm not sure if I'm saying that right. I apologize if I'm not. Enterprises, Inc., $1,250,895.00.
Correct.
Cool.
This one just has the original.
All right. Up next, we have Highlander Contracting Company, LLC. So I guess it's this one. Okay. And that total is 1,321,325.00.
Okay, and a bid bond?
This one did reflect one now.
This does not have a bid bond.
Okay. And that was 1,321,325.00?
Yes.
Okay. That was Highlander Contracting Company LLC for $1,321,325.00.
Thank you. All right, up next, we have Blue Star Technologies, Inc. Okay. And that total is 1,533,760.00.
Okay, that number, oops, my number's just stuck again. 1,533,760? It's the 6. Let me read that back to you again. The number was 1,533,760.00.
That is correct.
And there's a bid bond?
Yes.
Okay, that bidder was Blue Star Technologies, Inc. for $1,533,760.00.
Correct.
Okay.
Thank you. Our final bidder is KCI Communications Infrastructure. Okay. And that total is 1,291,828.50.
Could you repeat the last three
Sure.
digits?
Sure, it's 828.50.
828.00?
50.
Oh, .50. Okay. Let me read that back. That was 1,291,828.50.
That is correct.
And we have a bid bond?
Yes.
Okay, that bidder was KCI Communications Infrastructure, and the number was $1,291,828.50. And that was the final of 4 bidders for RFQ 478, Design and Construction for Conduit and Fiber Optic Cable at multiple locations. Up next, also for Bureau of Procurement, we have RFQ 476. This is EvoCam 2 Digital Microscope System. Does that match up with what you guys see?
Yes.
Great.
Okay.
And it looks like we only have one bidder for this.
Yes, we only have one bidder, and that is Benchtop Solutions. And that total is 207,380.00.
Okay, that number was 207,380.00. That bidder was Benchtop Solutions for $207,380.00. And that was our only bidder for RFQ 476, EvoCam 2 Digital Microscope System. And up next, our final opening for today, also for Bureau of Procurement, RFQ 432. This is for police uniform and tailoring services. This is an itemized bid, so we will not be reading totals. We will just be reading out the actual respondents to the bid. And then the agency, in this case Bureau of Procurement, will review these bids to determine the selection. So up first we have.
We have MES/Lawman Supply.
Okay. That was MES/Lawman Supply.
We have Galls, LLC.
That was Galls LLC.
Howard Uniform Company.
The Howard Uniform Company.
F&F and A. Jacobs and Sons, Inc.
F&F and A. Jacobs and Sons, Inc. And that was our final bidder. Okay, so we have 4 respondents for contract RFQ 432. Again, this was for police uniform and tailoring services. And the respondents were as follows: MES/Lawman Supply, Galls LLC, Howard Uniform Company, and F&F and A. Jacobs and Sons, Inc. And again, this is an itemized bid, so it will be sent to the agency for review of details. And that concludes our bid opening for today. Thanks for joining us. And our next bid opening is on February 21st, 2024 at 12 noon, and we'll see you then. Thanks for joining us.